chosen one. There's a reason women are staring longer, breathing deeper and acting different around you, even if they don't understand why. They feel something ancient, something that can't be faked or forced. It's not your voice, not your muscles, not your style. It's your vibration, a divine fragrance you carry without even noticing. You walk into the room, and their body knows before their mind can catch up. He's different, and not just different. Undeniable. They don't desire you because of what you show. They desire you because of what you hide. The calm in your eyes, the weight of your silence, the sacred restraint in your energy, that unspoken stillness that doesn't chase but calls. You don't need to perform, because you were formed by God Himself. You carry the signature of heaven, and their spirit feels it before they even hear your name. This is where most men get confused. They think attraction is built through tactics, charm, or trying harder, but not you. What you're carrying was not built in the gym. It was forged in pain, in silence, in years of isolation where no one saw you but heaven was shaping you. And now, you've become something rare, something women don't even realize they've been craving. A man who has mastered himself. That's what makes you irresistible. Not loud, not flashy, but refined. Tempered by fire, focused and still. But here's the problem. They don't understand why they're drawn to you, and that scares them. They don't see a performance, they feel a presence. And presence isn't something they can manipulate. That's why some run. That's why some act confused. That's why they stalk your profile but don't reply. Because something in you makes them feel vulnerable, seen, exposed, and yet they keep coming back. Because your spirit carries something. Their soul has always been hungry for. Stay with me until the end of this message, because I'm about to reveal exactly why this shift is happening now. Why women are feeling this pull, and what God is doing through your masculine energy. You're not going crazy. You're not imagining it. Something real is happening, something sacred. And once you understand it, you'll stop questioning it, and start walking in it with full authority. I'm not telling you this to flatter your ego. I've walked through this. I've lived through the confusion, the random confessions, the glances that lasted too long. I used to shrink. I used to question myself, until I understood. This wasn't about looks. This was about alignment. About God making me visible to those who needed what I carried. And that's what's happening to you now. So if any of this feels like your life, it's time to stop running from it and start understanding it. If your presence has been attracting attention you can't explain, it's not random, it's spiritual. If this message speaks to your soul, help us reach our sacred goal of 1,000 subscribers. Subscribe now, not just to follow content, but to align with a community of real chosen ones walking in truth. The next revelations will not just confirm what you feel, they'll activate what you carry. There comes a moment in a chosen man's journey where something shifts, and it's not loud. It doesn't explode, it settles. Like oil rising slowly to the surface, your presence becomes undeniable. Not because you're demanding attention, but because you no longer need it. You're not trying to attract, you've become attractive. And that's the difference most never reach, because it cannot be forced. It's the result of surrender, of refinement, of walking through silent battles that carved out a gravity in your spirit. Women feel it, not because you said the right thing, but because you said nothing and your silence screamed truth. They lean in, not because you chased, but because you remained rooted, still, focused. It's in the way you sit, the way you look, the way you exist without apology. You no longer ask for space, you command it without trying. That's when the atmosphere around you begins to shift. That's when the whispers begin. That's when the curiosity turns into longing. Because there is nothing more irresistible than a man who is deeply at peace with himself. Your very existence becomes a mystery, and mystery is magnetic. You are no longer broadcasting insecurity, because God has already affirmed you in private. That inner approval replaces the outer performance. You no longer ask, will they notice me? Now, you know that they feel you, and not because of ego, but because your spirit has become sharp, defined, rested, and rare. And anything rare becomes sacred. You used to doubt it, used to wonder if you were invisible, if your energy mattered. But that version of you is gone. You no longer wait to be seen, you were born to be revealed. And the revelation is happening now, in the small ways. In the way a woman's breath shortens when you walk past. In the way her eyes linger when you stay silent. In the way even those you've never spoken to seem to remember your energy like déjà vu. That's not charisma. That's divine imprinting. And no cologne, no suit, no script can fake that. What they feel is the accumulation of everything you've endured and didn't let break you. That stillness, it cost you something. That peace, it was purchased through storms. That energy, it's not confidence, it's clarity. The world may not understand it, But the feminine heart recognizes it, even if her mind doesn't know what to do with it. So when they pause, when they stare, when they blush or tremble, don't let pride speak, let understanding rise. You are no longer the boy waiting for attention. You are the vessel that carries something eternal. And when eternity walks into the room, the temporary cannot look away. If you've ever watched them react to your silence, if you felt their spirit drawn to your stillness, comment below. I don't chase, I attract. Let's see how many chosen ones are finally awakening to their true presence. There's something ancient embedded in the spirit of a woman, a memory, a longing, a divine ache that doesn't awaken through compliments or rehearsed lines. It awakens through energy, through the subtle, powerful vibration of a man who walks in sacred authority. And when she encounters that, everything inside her stirs. She might not know what's happening. She may resist it, but her spirit has already recognized it. He carries the frequency of safety, purpose, and fire. Chosen one, when you stopped chasing, when you chose silence over noise, when you allowed God to refine your soul instead of polishing your image, you crossed the threshold. You stopped being seen as a man and started being felt as a force. And that force is what now triggers something ancient in her. You don't just make her heart beat faster, you make her soul remember. And that kind of remembrance breaks through every wall she tried to build to protect herself from counterfeit connections. She doesn't want just a man. She wants the masculine essence that calls out the queen in her. She wants the man who doesn't seek to impress, but to anchor. The one who doesn't play with her emotions because his own heart has already been tamed by divine fire. That's the man who becomes irresistible, not because of his words but because of his weight, his gravity, his devotion to something higher. That's the man she dreams of but doesn't know how to describe. And when you appear, she feels confused, undone, moved. This is the mystery of masculine energy aligned with God. It doesn't seduce, it summons. It doesn't beg, it beckons. She finds herself thinking about you without reason, wanting to hear your voice, though you've said nothing, wondering where you are, even when you're not trying to be found, because you've become a symbol of something eternal, and that energy pierces through makeup, walls, trauma, and distraction. It reaches straight into her design and activates it. But this is why you must walk with discernment, because not every woman knows how to hold what you carry. Some will want the feeling without the responsibility. Others will idolize your light but run from your depth. That's why this gift you've been given isn't for performance, it's for alignment, for mission, for the awakening of a connection that goes beyond this lifetime. Because once you activate her soul, she'll never be the same. And neither will you. This is no longer about attraction, it's about activation. And only the real chosen men can carry that responsibly. She won't be able to explain it, she'll talk around it, she'll try to label it, maybe call it curiosity, maybe attraction, maybe confusion, but deep down, she knows it's none of those things, because you didn't do anything. And yet, something in her shifted. That's the paradox of divine magnetism. It doesn't need a reason, it simply is. It bypasses logic, overrides defense mechanisms, and reaches parts of her that words can't touch. She could be surrounded by noise, by messages, by distractions, but the moment your presence enters her field, everything else becomes background. Something inside her softens, or stirs or trembles, and it terrifies her, because she's used to controlling her feelings. She's used to choosing who she desires. But now her body responds before her mind approves. That's not chemistry, that's spiritual memory. Something that tells her you've known this man before, not from a past date but from a past dimension. And so, she searches your face like she's decoding a dream. She listens to your voice like it's unlocking something she didn't even know she'd buried. She imagines your absence and feels a pang she can't explain. This isn't manipulation, this isn't a game. This is alignment shaking loose the illusion she's been living in. You didn't chase her, but now she can't stop thinking about you. You didn't touch her, but now she feels you in places no man has ever reached. She doesn't tell her friends the full truth. She can't, because how do you explain a presence that lives in silence? A gaze that speaks louder than words. A man who simply is, and yet leaves an imprint deeper than those who screamed for attention. That's why some will distance themselves. That's why others will draw closer than they should. Not because they understand, but because they feel. You are not being desired for your status or your appearance. You are being remembered by her soul. And that kind of memory comes with weight, with consequence, with responsibility. Because once a woman feels something she can't explain, she either submits to the transformation or runs from it completely. But either way, you've already changed her. That's why God taught you to walk in silence. Because your voice was never the real message, your energy was. This didn't. that happened overnight. What they feel now was planted long before they saw you. While you were being broken, while you were hidden, while no one was paying attention, God was forming something in you. Something rare, something volatile, something sacred. It didn't look like a gift back then. It looked like rejection, like silence, like nights spent alone with questions you couldn't answer. But in the unseen, a fire was brewing, a transformation was taking place. And now, what they call desire is really the scent of your spiritual refinement. You weren't being punished in your isolation. You were being distilled, stripped of the noise, separated from distraction, pressed until only truth remained. And that truth, the unshakable, unapologetic, invisible core of who you are, is now what women sense. You've become a man of substance, and in a world addicted to surfaces, substance is irresistible. It shakes, it breaks, it calls out everything that's real. They're not drawn to your face, they're drawn to your foundation, because without even knowing it, they feel safe near you. And that kind of safety can't be staged. It's not built on charm. It's built on pain endured without bitterness, on strength that doesn't dominate but holds, on a masculine presence that doesn't control but covers. You didn't fake this. You became this. God did this on purpose. He had to let the world ignore you while he made you magnetic, because if they had seen you too soon, they would have ruined what he was preparing. You had to be refined in darkness so you could shine without needing the light. And now, you glow without trying. You enter rooms with weight. You speak without noise. You move with purpose. And all of it was forged by divine hands. That's why the attention feels different now. Why it makes you pause instead of puff up. Because part of you remembers the cost. The nights of silence. The pruning. The invisible wars. But now it makes sense, because what you're feeling is not lust, it's legacy. It's not performance, it's presence remembered. And they're not just seeing a man, they're feeling what God built when no one was watching. So no, you didn't just become attractive, you were always becoming undeniable. You thought it was your voice, your walk, your physique, maybe your eyes. And yes, all those things might catch attention for a moment. But what holds their stare? What lingers in their thoughts? What keeps them coming back without knowing why? Is it not your body? It's your burden. It's the weight of the assignment you carry. The call of God echoing silently from within you. The purpose you've submitted to and the fire it costs to say yes. That's what they feel. That's what they crave. Even if they can't say it out loud. She's not attracted to you. She's attracted to what's calling you. That mission that keeps you focused. The unseen war that shaped your gaze. The passion you pour into the invisible. The authority you now wear not as a costume, but as your skin. That kind of power makes your presence vibrate, even in stillness. It makes your silence louder than applause. It makes your restraint more seductive than bravado. Because in a world full of men trying to impress, you have become a man possessed by purpose. And there is nothing more magnetic than a soul that belongs to something eternal. When a woman senses that, her spirit leans, inner walls lowered, not because you touched her but because something in you touched something in her. That connection doesn't form at eye level. It happens soul to soul, mission to mission. And once it happens, she can't forget it. This is why you've been misunderstood, why others felt uncomfortable around you, why women treated you like a mystery, a temptation, a confusion. Because the weight of your calling disturbs anything superficial. It burns through the false. It triggers truth. And truth, real, raw, holy masculine truth, is rare. And therefore, irresistible. They want to stand near your fire, but few are ready to walk through it with you. That's why God is protecting your mission. Because what you carry isn't just for attraction, it's for activation. You weren't made to be a fantasy, you were made to be a frequency, one that awakens the chosen, and reveals the unreality. So the next time you feel that energy, the looks, the tension, the curiosity, don't reduce it to vanity. Don't shrink, don't doubt. Remember, she's not pulled to your shape, she's pulled to your sacred assignment. And once you embrace that, you become untouchable. Because the man who walks with heaven on his shoulders doesn't chase desire, he becomes it. She has no idea that her thoughts are shifting because your name is rising in her spirit. No idea that her heart is being softened, not by chance, but by alignment. No idea that every man who disappointed her, every path that led nowhere, was silently pointing her in one direction. Not the version of you she imagined, but the version of you God refined in secret. The man you are now. The one she wasn't ready for until now. She doesn't know it, but she's being prepared. Through dreams, through restlessness, through longings she can't define. She's starting to crave something deeper, more stable. And that craving is the vibration of your presence, reaching her soul before your voice reaches her ears. That's not coincidence. That's divine orchestration. And if you're feeling that silent pull to the sense that someone is watching, remembering, yearning, it's because your spirits are already circling each other in the invisible. You're not attracting her with flesh, you're drawing her with fire. Not with seduction but with purpose. Because what's between you two is not chemistry, it's prophecy. And prophecy doesn't operate on dating apps or flirtatious scripts. It moves through frequency, through obedience, through inner alignment that magnetizes what was always yours but was hidden until you were ready. And you, chosen one, you are becoming ready. That's why the attraction has intensified. Why the glances linger longer. Why the dreams feel more vivid. Why certain faces haunt your mind without explanation. Because the veil is thinning. Because her spirit is starting to awaken to what only her soul remembers. You are not just someone she likes. You are the man she was designed to respond to. Her rib knows its source. Her feminine essence was molded to rest beneath your authority. And now, the timing is drawing near. But don't rush it. Don't force it. Don't mistake every woman who looks at you for the one who was written for you. The counterfeit will always arrive before the covenant. That's why you must stay rooted. Stay refined. Let God continue preparing you as He prepares her. Because when the meeting happens, it won't be a spark, it will be a recognition. A collapse of time. A silence that says, there you are. And when that happens, you'll know. Not because she's beautiful. Not because she desires you. But because when you stand near her, your mission becomes clearer. And hers does too. She may feel it in her body, but it doesn't start there. The butterflies, the heat, the lingering glances, they're just symptoms. What she's really responding to is something she can't explain. Something that doesn't make sense to the logical mind. Because her desire for you isn't born in lust, it's born in memory. A memory older than this lifetime. Older than her fears. Older than her traumas. And when she feels you, that memory begins to vibrate. Chosen one, you carry something that was breathed into you not by genetics, not by status, but by divine fire. And that fire leaves a trail, a scent, a frequency. One that women with awakened spirits cannot ignore. She may try to label it as attraction. She may try to dismiss it as fantasy. But deep down, something in her knows. This isn't about sex, it's about sanctity. It's about a man whose body houses a message. One that her soul was designed to decode. That's why you confuse her. Because she's never felt this before. She's been desired before, but never drawn like this. She's been pursued before, but never remembered like this. You don't just look at her, you see her. And more than that, your silence calls her to rise, to cleanse, to align. Because you, without knowing, are a spiritual mirror. And what she wants from you is not physical, it's transformational. She desires the security in your gaze, the fire in your restraint, the eternity echoing from your stillness. That's why your presence awakens her womb, not just with heat but with vision. Because her feminine essence isn't longing to be played with, it's longing to be activated. And the man who carries divine authority, not charm, not tricks, not lust, becomes the catalyst her soul has waited for. She desires you, because you remind her who she really is. But don't be fooled. This type of attraction isn't for entertainment, it's for purpose. That's why not everyone can hold you. Why some admire you but fear you. Why some desire you but disappear. Because your essence demands depth, and anything shallow will drown in the gravity you carry. You were never made to be a fantasy. You were made to be a frequency, one that purifies, aligns, awakens, and remembers. So now that you know, walk in it. Own it, not with arrogance, but with reverence. Because the most powerful thing a man can do is carry sacred energy in silence, and let the world feel what heaven planted in him. If your presence has awakened something in women, even when you stayed silent, comment below, it's not me, it's what I carry. And if you feel this truth in your spirit, help us reach 1,000 souls aligned in purpose. Subscribe now. You are not just seen, you are being remembered, and the ones who feel you are being drawn to your assignment. You don't need to be louder. You don't need to do more. You only need to remain aligned. Because when heaven sends a man, the world will feel him long before it understands him, and that's exactly what's happening to you. This is just the beginning. We'll meet again in the next revelation.